Maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions.
If we cannot inspire the country to believe again, then it doesn't matter how many policies and plans we have.
Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over that.
It's time that we define our policies. It's time that we define our sentencing guidelines. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George, and I'm going to give a speech on women. Today, I want to stand here to protest against the old. I want to stand here to reform, because we've been misled by our own old ideologies. We have been told that behind a strong man there is a woman. Who came up with this? Who came up with this ideology? Behind. Why not beside? Why not before? And that's the perception that we've been driving on and on. That's what is killing our society. That is what is making the femininity of our country to lie low. Our society, specifically Africa, has not appreciated the power of a woman, the strength of a woman. We've perceived women as sex organs, sex tools, and nothing more. And we think that beauty of a woman is on her body. That is what I stand here to protest. We must set initiatives that will evaluate the progress of our women. Why is it that Martha Karua, when she stands up to be a presidential candidate, she cannot win even if she has the best ideologies? Is it because she is a woman? Or must we wait for our women to be appreciated by foreigners, the likes of Lupita Nyong'o, so that we see the importance in the women? I want to set an initiative before you entitled Women Development Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, Karl Marx once said that if reality coincides with appearance, then science will be superfluous. And that's what we are seeing. We have laws advocating for the power of our women. Are they effective? Who is to follow up these laws? Is there a body that ensures that the strength of a woman is empowered? Who? Our leaders, majority in the policy makers, are men. We pass laws that enrich the egos of men. You can marry as many wives as you can so long as you are a man. But what about the woman? When she marries more than one man, she's considered immoral. Where is the equality? There is no organ to ensure that the power of a Kenyan woman is enriched. And that's what I stand here for today. This Women Development Initiative is a replica of what is going on in the outside world. A good example is Bosnia, where the GDP of the country, the 47.1% of the country, the GDP, it's entitled through the power and endeavors of the woman majority in the country. Why? Because they have developed circles that implement and facilitate their progress. Unless we initiate a body that will evaluate the reality of our laws and policies for women, then the laws are as good as nothing. The second thing that this initiative can achieve is bringing innovative women and role models to empower our youths. When you ask a young girl in Standard 4 who is your role model, I won't be surprised if she stands up and say, Vera. It is not a laughing matter, because that is what society portrays of a woman. She grows up and she wants to be like that. Ladies and gentlemen, we must focus on these two initiatives of the women development, of these two aspects of women development initiative, evaluate the reality of our policies and laws, and bring role models to empower us. Then we will stand up in pride and say that our women are before our success. Then we'll start seeing them getting into the public forums, getting into presidential seats. Not unless we reform the reality, then the old ideology will remain. Today I stand here to protest and to empower the strength of a woman. If you believe in the woman power, hold with me your hands and say, together we can. As the great leaders once said, yes we can, if we empower the woman. As I leave you with one quote that I've already mentioned, the power behind the quote of President Barack Obama was the powerful force of a woman. Thank you.
I'm here to talk about identity, focusing on Africa as a continent. It surprises me that Africa is a very rich country, but we produce a lot of products, agricultural products, and minerals, but most of them go to the European countries and we get peanuts. Does this pain any one of us who's here? Like it does pain me. That's a question you can answer. There are very many solutions we can take to curb this issue. First of all, we need to raise our children in the right ways and tell them there is nothing wrong with being an African. Black is beauty. In our era, we raise children telling them that when you're black, there's something wrong with you. You're not capable of doing some things. I think that mentality should stop. As that child is being nurtured when the child is a baby, he or she should be told, you are as you are. And you have the abilities to do whatever you want, and your dreams are valid, irrespective of where you're from. Number two, the African countries need to provide platforms for the teenagers and the youths to present their ideas. It saddens me that most of the countries close their eyes to the potential of their the potential of their citizens. For instance, I personally wanted to become a chef, but as I gave out that idea to many people told me, what can you do as a chef? You're going to turn up, you're not going to be able to get your income. But this should not be the case. We should embrace people as they are, with their abilities. We should not close our eyes to people's abilities. As a nation, we need to embrace each and every person as they are, with their abilities. If your strength is in sports, let us embrace you as you are and take you to a sports academy. If your strength is in cooking, let's embrace that. Let us not go around the bush, taking you east and west, while finally you're going to come to the center to become a chef. The next point is, we have leaders who embezzle funds. You know, not everyone is perfect, I have to agree that. But we cannot close our eyes to the fact that most of us do not believe in ourselves, and we just sit back and expect things to happen from heaven. There's a philosopher who said, foolishness is doing the same thing with the same things over and over again and expecting different results. We have to come with new systems. Like our leaders have to stand up and do what they're expected to do. If you're in a certain office, take that position and do something constructive with it. Do not just sit and expect work will be done without putting strategies. My last point. I will not cease to say that Africa, we have a lot of potential, but most of us do not believe in our capabilities. Lupita Nyong'o said, your dreams are valid. It does not matter where you're from. Whether you're from Kibera, you're from Runda, it does not matter. As long as you have the will and the zeal takes you places where the will and the zeal can take you to places where nothing else can. As long as you have the will, it does not matter if you do not have the finances. You can always become what you want to be. So, as Africa, we need to join hands. We need to join hands and become one and forge ahead and believe in our abilities. Because change begins with you and me. For something to be, we need to join hands and act as one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mwakazi, honorable judges, international observers, distinguished guests, friends. Now, when I found out my name is Kimani Chege. Some people choose to call me Edwin. And when I found out about my topic, the topic of leadership, two distinct episodes came into my mind, two distinct episodes in my life. The first was more lighthearted, and it reminded me of my tenure as head bishop of the Chege Ministries, aka the More Fire Spirit. Please come down quickly now. My tenure as leader of that particular Christian evangelical movement. And the second one was on a sadder note. I remember there was a time when, my first time in Kisumu actually, I was in class 7, about 14 years old. We went to the port, very exciting time. And we were taken to the dock, and we met the captain of a ship. And he gave us a very interesting conversation. In fact, it is only by a twist of fate that I do not sail or fish. He was very convincing. He told us, he gave us a brief about his tenure as captain, how he enjoyed his time there, and it was very inspiring, very encouraging. And one thing he said stood out to me. Yes, it stood out to me. He said, amongst you, I see presidents. Amongst you, I see businessmen. Amongst you, I see sailors. But the one thing I do not see is a thief. Now, last year, I managed to bump in. This is a true story. I'm not saying this for purposes of the speech. It actually happened. Last year, I met a friend of mine, a colleague with whom I was with in that trip. And we were just catching up about our primary school days. And he was telling me how some of the people there had gone on to become DJs. Some of them had gone on to become businessmen. Some of them had gone on to become presidents of farming corporations, but presidents all the same. But there was a time he was walking in town, and someone grabbed him from the back. It was a gang of about 5 people, about 4 people. One grabbed him from the back, 2 went to his sides, 1 at his front. And the one at the front, he remembered his name, and he looked at him and said, "Kiama, is that you?" Immediately, this friend was very surprised, so he backed off, and the gang went. He wasn't robbed, fortunately. But this incident had a very strong imprint on him. What happened to make leaders of us and criminals of them? And when I realized this, it was, first of all, it was very belligerent. It was also very cantankerous, and it caused a lot of consternation, it caused discomposure, and it caused discomfiture of spirit. Because, in essence, what society is this that makes leaders of men and criminals of men as well? The problem we have with leadership in this society is it is lopsided. Some of us, it seems as though some of us are meant to become leaders, some of us are meant to become followers, and unfortunately some of us tread the path that leads to jail and penitentiaries. Therefore, what do I propose as a solution? First of all, the concept of leadership has to be redefined. You do not have to be in a position of power to consider yourself a leader. The concept of leadership should not be some lofty idea of Obama and Martin Luther King. The concept of leadership is you. The responsibilities you take as an individual. And therefore, as a solution, we need to re-educate the masses, starting from the grassroots level, about what real leadership is. We need to change the objective conditions in this society that make leaders of men and criminals of men. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a lofty quote to end with, but I do say that many people may suggest that it may be difficult to achieve these ends, but I remind them that in San Domingo, that is Haiti, modern-day Haiti, the institution of slavery existed for 150 years. In Africa, colonialism existed for 60 years. Change can happen, and change can happen now. I close with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Sorry, I was lying earlier. For better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the great twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. We will know victory in the war to create leadership. Black power.
My name is Valeria Diambo Mondi, and I would like to talk to you about animals. I do love animals, and I would ask this question: if the animals could talk just for a day, what would they tell us? Would the elephants applaud us today as human beings? What do you think the rhinos would tell us because they lost their horns? If the animals could talk, it would make their plight seem real. Then we may understand exactly how they feel. Just as human beings, animals have a right to life, a right to dignity, and a right to liberty. And as a nation, we majorly depend on tourism industry as our source of income, as one of our sources of income. And that is why we're supposed to take care of these animals. Tourism industry in Kenya depends on the beautiful sceneries we have, as well as the wildlife. This wildlife is what defines tourism in Kenya. But the problem is we are losing these animals to poachers. Poaching is the illegal hunting and killing of animals for our own selfish gains. As we all know, we only do this to gain something out of it. But then again, do we think of these animals? Do we think of how they feel at the end of the day? According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, Africa and Asia had approximated worldwide population of 500,000 rhinos. And however, despite the intensive conservation efforts that are being put today, we're still losing these iconic species, and they're moving closer and closer to getting extinct. Ladies and gentlemen, if we keep allowing poachers to kill our wildlife, we're slowly dying as a nation. Today, I want to urge you, let us fight poachers. They do not have a right whatsoever to kill an animal for whatever reason. There is a reason that animal was given a horn, was given a tusk. Imagine an animal as huge imagine an elephant as huge as a cow being killed just because of the two tusks, and the rest of the body left there to rot. Isn't it sad? Doesn't it worry you? It is time we did something about this. It is my job and your job to come together and take care of the wildlife animal rights. I live by this principle where they say, whatever has a heart has a life. Animals do have a right. The animals do have a life, and they do have a right to protection. We are their voice out there. We are the ones who represent these animals. We all know these animals cannot talk, but yes, we can. And we are aware of what they need to do. First and foremost, where is the law? We are all aware that there are laws put out there to protect these animals, to curb poachers. But then again, what do we do with them? Do we follow these laws strictly? I would urge us that these laws, if followed strictly, honestly, we would deal with poachers today. Secondly, how many of us are aware of how many elephants and rhinos we have lost this year to poachers? None of us. Ladies and gentlemen, let us create awareness of these things. just as the KWS is doing. But again, there's a loophole there. They don't give us the exact numbers that we need to know of how many animals we're losing. We're given approximated numbers. But I think it is time we get to know the exact numbers we're losing. Thirdly, campaigns. Let's join Paula Kahumbu with her campaign of Hands Off Our Elephants. It is not only elephants we're losing, we're also losing rhinos. I would encourage us to engage in these campaigns. Let us create awareness through these campaigns and ensure that these animals are protected. Listen to these cries, to the cry of these animals. Shouldn't poachers just hang their heads in shame? My eyes are filled with tears. Come on, guys. Let us bring an end to this sickening trade. Thank you.
Maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions.
If we cannot inspire the country to believe again, then it doesn't matter how many policies and plans we have.
Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over that.
It's time that we define our policies. It's time that we define our sentencing guidelines.